This video is based on App04 and the use of inheritance, which we haven't met up till now. You'll find the features very similar to the features we used in a BlueJ app, which was about a stock manager and products. It is very similar to that. So what we want is an application where we can add a message post or a photo post, and the post should be saved in a list. We should also, the user should be able to display all the posts for a particular time period or a particular author. They should be able to remove a post, add comments to a post, and like and unlike posts. So it will need a fairly substantial user interface, but we're not going to start with the user interface. What we're going to start with is whether the design is correct or not. And in fact, the design we start with is not correct. So typically there's a NewsFeed class which contains a list of messages or message posts, a list of photo posts. And if we look at the message post and the photo post, they have a lot in common. Comments, likes, a timestamp, add comment, display, format elapsed time, and so on. There's a lot of code duplication here, and it's difficult to see how to remove this. As well as that, if we wanted a list of all posts, it's going to be difficult because they're in two separate lists. So the objects look like this. An array list of messages, an array list of photos, inside of which are multiple message posts or multiple photo posts. And we've got them in two separate array lists. Okay, looking at the user interface, we want the user to be able to add a message post or a photo post and display them all. That's the stage 1 version. Adding a message is putting the name of the user or author of the post in and their message and timing it. And a photo post consists of putting the author's name in, asking for a file name for the image and a caption for the image. So we've got two kinds of posts, but we can easily see there could be other kinds of posts we might want to add in future. So what we're going to use to get around all these problems is inheritance. We're going to separate out everything the message post and the photo post have in common in a class called post. And a message post is a kind of post. A photo post is a kind of post. And these are what both these posts have in common. They have comments, they have likes, they have a timestamp, they have an author or a username. We want to add a comment, we want to display them, and so on. So we're going to create a super class, a parent class, and these two classes will inherit from the post class and add extras. So the message post, the extra the message post has is a message. The extras a photo post has is a file name and a caption. I'm going to use these properties. So for the message post, we'll have a public string message with just a get message because we will not want to alter it again. Whereas the file name, we'll have a set message for that, and the caption will have a get and a set. So when we create any post, all posts have an author, which is the user's name. They will have a timestamp. They'll start with 0 likes, and they'll have a new list of comments, which obviously to start with will be empty. Creating a message post, we need an author and the text of the message, and a photo post needs an author, a file name, and a caption. So these three different classes will have different constructors, but the message post will use the base class to pass on the author's name. and the PhotoPost will use the base class, again passing on the author's name. So that's our new design. So instead of having two array lists, we're going to have a single list of posts, and those posts can be either message posts or photo posts. In C# we don't have it's not called array list. This list does have an array element to it, so it's just like the Java array list, though it's just called list. So we can create a new list of posts, and we can have a method to add a post to the list of posts, and we can use a for each loop to go through all the posts and print them out, whether they're message posts or photo posts. That's the advantage of this design. Okay, so let's start doing it. So we're going to introduce a new class called a post. It's going to be a base class, and we're going to strip out what these two classes, MessagePost and PhotoPost, have in common. Okay, so let's add a new class. Which we'll call post.cs. So it's going to be a public class. If we look at message posts, what they have in common to photo posts are the likes, the list of comments, the username, but not the message. So I'm going to cut those out of message post and put them into post. Now the same ones should be in PhotoPost, in a different order. I have to be careful here. So it was username, but not file name or caption. It was timestamp, likes and comments. We go back to message posts. Yeah, we hadn't taken the timestamp out, so I'm taking the timestamp, so that's in common, and that's going into posts. That should be it for the attributes. Let me just check. Obviously that's going to cause problems, which we'll have to fix. So yeah, we might as well move on to the constructor then, because the message post can't initialize the post with author now, because the author's in the post class. So the key thing we can initialize when we post any kind of message or photo is the user or author name. I'll call it author. So we've initialized that, which is the same as what we did there in the message post, so that can come out. We'll cut this out because that can now be initialized in the post class. And the same with the number of likes and creating a new list of comments. That can all go to the post class. So the key thing about creating a new message post is a message and an author, but we'll pass the author on later. Okay, so we can now see that because we've moved likes, increasing the likes and decreasing the likes, those methods can be removed and going into the post class. underneath the constructor. And don't forget your comments, sorry. I tend to do this without comments, but you must put the comments in. You don't have to put the parameters in. Okay, so we've got the like and unlike methods from the message post. Adding a comment can also be removed into the post class. Okay, and then we got the display method, which is much more difficult. I think this is formatting the elapsed time, so I think that can go. Into the post class. Obviously I haven't used it yet. Okay, so the post class is happy, but we've got problems with the other classes because the display method wants access to the username. We'll have to solve that. It also wants access to the likes, which it can't get at the moment. If we cut this out and moved it into the post class, we'd have a problem because the post class doesn't have access to the message. So those are problems we need to solve. So if I look at the PhotoPost now, we can remove the duplicated methods, and the duplicated initialization in the constructor can go as well. Because it's got the same methods, we're just going to delete them now, and adding a comment's the same. So all that duplication has now been removed, but we are left with a display problem. And we don't need a format elapsed time, that can go. Okay, but we still got, in particular the display method we now need to sort out. And we also need to link these classes together, because at the moment the PhotoPost and the MessagePost aren't using the post class. We're now going to form the relationship between the MessagePost and the base class called post. It's just as simple as that. That the MessagePost is based on the post class. Another way of putting it is the MessagePost is a kind of post. Obviously a kind of post which has a message. Okay, then we got the constructor to sort, because when we create a message post we want an author and the text of the message. Text of the message can be set easily. It's the problem about passing this on to the base class, the author, passing the author onto the base class, and we do that by doing colon and base for base class, and then in there we have author. So the author is going to be passed on to the base class, whereas the text of the message is going to be saved here. And you can see that now compiles, there's no compilation errors now. We can do something similar with the PhotoPost. So the PhotoPost is a kind of post. So the PhotoPost again has an author, a file name and a caption, and we need the author to be passed on to the base class. Okay, and that constructor is now happy. Try a build, but I know we've still got lots of other problems still. Right, finally let's try to sort out the display. So what I'm going to do, I think, is cut the display out of the MessagePost. And put it into the post class. And let's see what it is or isn't happy about. So it's okay about a username and a timestamp. It's not happy about messages because it can't access those. But it can access the likes, and the rest is happy. So that class is now happy again. Right, in terms of the MessagePost now that I've removed the display, I think that class is happy. There's not a lot in it. And we'll do the same with the PhotoPosts. I'm going to take out the display. So we have only got one display now, and it's in the post class. And finally, we do have a build. Okay, we can't run anything yet because there's no user interface yet. But we have refactored these three classes so that the PhotoPost is a kind of post and the MessagePost is a kind of post. And the NewsFeed itself, right, that needs altering now as well, doesn't it? Because at the moment it has a list of MessagePosts or PhotoPosts, and what we're going to do is change that. So it has a list of posts. So we don't want MessagePosts and PhotoPosts, we just want posts. So what we'll do is, let's refactor this word, rename this messages to posts instead. So the list has to be a list of posts. So we have one list now. It's a list of posts, and they can be any kind of post. I think the rest. Right, we've got a problem about add photos. That's because we haven't got photos, we've got posts. Yep. So we can add a photo post to the posts. And similarly here, right, instead of having two loops here, a message loop and a photo post, we can now get away with, we want the one loop. It's going to look at each post in posts, and it's going to call that post's display method. Okay, so we've just got the one loop. We can take the other loop out because now that we've got different kinds of posts, we can do it like that and display all the posts, whatever kind they are. Okay, another build, and we're happy. If we look at the error list, there may be some warnings. Yeah, so for example, there is an unnecessary using there we can remove. It's true. And there's one there, look. And there's one there we can remove. Yes, and I've got missing code here, but I'll leave that. So I've finally got a build I'm happy with. We have now used inheritance for all four of the classes. And that's the point at which I'm going to save that in Git. So we've now added a base class, and used inheritance. For the posts. Okay, I'm going to commit and push that. That's the point at which I'm doing my first commit and push, because prior to that there were compilation errors and I don't want to push those up to GitHub. So we've done the major refactor. We now need to get something to work, so we can see something. We need display to work. So we're going to add a user interface, and it's going to be called NetworkApp. And in that will be a method to display a menu of choices for the user. These aren't all the choices. There are 8 features that need to be covered. I'm just going to do 3 of them. So we're using our console helper to output a heading and also to set up a list of choices for the user to select. So let's do that first. It should look something like this. So to App04 we're going to add another class. I'm going to call that NetworkApp. It's going to be a public class. And it's going to have this method to display a menu. So here is the code. 1 or 2 changes of names, but it's up to you whether you add a post, add a message or post a message, add an image or post an image. Also, I've changed my mind about userlib. It's really now called console helper. You can make up whatever heading you like. And at the moment I've just got these 4 choices: to post a message, post an image, display. No, that's not quite right, is it? That should be just display all the posts or quit. So we'll start by setting the boolean want to quit to be false, and until it becomes true, you're going to carry on asking the user whether they want to post a message, post an image, display all the posts, or quit. Okay, now you notice I put these methods in which don't exist, but you can just say, okay, generate the method then. That speeds things up a bit. So we have all our display all, post image and post message with nothing inside them. Okay, and that should build. And now we want to hook it into our program. I've got the choices already there. I've called it social network there, which is choice 3. So we can now create a new, actually there's already a new news, we don't want a news feed actually. What we want is a network app. I'll just call it an app. Oh, let's call it App04, shall we? Is a new network app. Okay, so we've created a new network app up here. So when we get down here to choice 3, we can say that this App04 we want to call DisplayMenu. Derek's newsfeed, and we've got our choice of messages, choice of methods, but of course they do nothing. So if I choose number 2, it's going to throw an exception, because that method doesn't exist yet. The next step is to link in our NewsFeed class. That's going to be a new NewsFeed, and then we can use it. So we want to display everything. Well, there is a display method in the NewsFeed. Let's just see what it does. Okay, so it does what we wanted to do. It goes around each of the posts and displays them. Only problem is we haven't got any posts. So just so we can get going, I'm going to put a couple of posts in our NewsFeed. So let's have a message post and an image or photo post. So for a message post we need an author, and we need a posted message. That'll do for now. Okay, that should create a message post. We need to add that, and we can do that by calling our add message post method. And there we are, we've got a message post. Let's now have a photo post. In fact, if you're happy for all the posts to have your name on it, it might make sense to put an author in here as a constant. Sorry, yes, you can stick to the Java convention if you want to, or the Microsoft convention, which is Pascal case. But I think as you're going to use, the author is going to be referred to quite often. I think it makes sense to have an author there, so we don't need to keep putting it in quotation marks like this. We can just use the author there. Okay, so it needs an author, it then needs a file name. I'm just going to make something up. We won't actually have any photos. And then it needs a caption. And then we can add that. And we've got two posts now. So let's see what they look like. That's better. And then we want to display our posts. Okay, so we get our author, we get the time elapsed, there aren't any comments, there aren't any likes. That's the message post, and the trouble is they look identical, don't they, at this point. All we've printed out is the author and the time elapsed. We haven't printed out the message or the image, so it needs a bit more work yet. Now we can add two ordinary display methods, one to the message post and one to the photo post. The message display method prints out the message. The photo post display method prints out the file name and caption. However, if we run that, we'll find all we get is the base class's display method. What we want to do is to override the original display method with these new display methods. So the base class display method must be labeled virtual. That allows it to decide at runtime which of these other display methods it wants to use. This is an example of polymorphism. 3 different methods, all with the same name, all with the same parameters. But if we do this, we'll be disappointed again, because the MessagePost will just print out the message, the PhotoPost will just print out the file name and caption, because neither of which will use the base class's display method. So we must go one step further. Having displayed the message, we then call on the base class display method. Having displayed the file name and caption of the photo, again we call on the base class's display method to make sure we get the author and the time elapsed as well. So that's what we're going to do now. Add these 2 extra display methods. And this is an example of polymorphism. Multiple versions of the same method. So here's the base class display method, which will display the author, time, likes and comments. It's been made virtual. Here's the MessagePost display method, which overrides that, writes out the message and then calls the base display. Here's the PhotoPost display method, writes out the file name and caption and calls on the base display. So let's see that in action. Okay, it's rather basic, but there's the message, there's the author, time elapsed. Here's the file name, the caption, author, time elapsed. So we've now got our polymorphic display methods working appropriately. Okay, so that's as far as I'm going to take it in the video. There's a lot more still to do, but it's very similar to what you've done before, either in BlueJ or in the last example with the student marks. You have to be able to have methods to add message posts, methods to add photo posts. The posts need to be saved in that list. Then we've done displaying them all in time order. That will happen automatically. Don't need to do much about that. But then you want other display methods where you can just look at the posts for a given username. You can also remove posts and add comments to posts and like and unlike individual posts. So those are all the features that need to be implemented to finish this application.